Okay, Judy, it's now 6:30. Should we kick it off?
Sure.
I'll let you take the reins.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. I'm co-chair Judy Schneider, and my other co-chair is.
Elise Farber.
Okay, so let's start off with the first item, which is an update on the construction for the Davis Center, formerly the Lasker Rink and Pool at the Harlem Mere, by the Central Park Conservancy. And they're also going to talk to us about programming. I saw Diane is here. I don't know, Diane, are you the one that's going to start speaking first? Um,
Judy, do you
John-
want to
Yeah,
let
I just need to.
John
yeah.
remind everybody how our meetings are run?
Oh, yes, sorry about that. John, will you do your little talk?
It's welcome all. If this is your first time joining us, you will notice that you're all currently muted, and you will stay muted throughout the meeting, except unless co-chairs are access, unless except you are a co-chair, or if you are presenting for the agenda. Following the presentations, as we move through the agenda, the co-chairs will call on members of the public wishing to speak. You can participate by going to the react icon on your device and pressing the raise hand button. Not the wave or thumbs up button, as those will disappear. Only press the raise hand button once. If you press it twice, it will go back down. If you are calling your phone, press star +9 to raise your hand and star 6 to unmute yourself. Be on the lookout for a prompt asking you to confirm a meeting once the co-chairs call on you. The chat is available for technical support only to help with Zoom software problems, not to ask questions of the co-chairs. They will not see the chat. If you are using an older version of Zoom, you will need to go to participants section where you will find the raise hand feature there. Please do not raise your actual hand or wave at the screen because we may not be able to see it. Chat me for any technical support.
Hey, can we unmute um, Diane Jackie, John, from the
John,
Central Parks Conservancy?
good evening, everybody. It's nice to see you. I'm Diane Jackier. I'm the Vice President for Program Management from the Central Park Conservancy. I'm here with several of my colleagues who are going to present to you the construction update of where we are with the Davis Center, formerly called the Harlem Mere Center, formerly called the Lasker Rink and Pool. So we're going to give you an update on the construction and where we are. Hopefully some of you have been able to see some of the exciting things going on there. And then, so Olivia Freeland from our VP of Construction is going to go through that. And then we're going to hand it over to our amazing programming staff who are going to give you an update of what we are planning for the Davis Center itself. So I'm going to hand it first to Olivia.
Thanks, Diane. And Shatik from our group is running the slides for me. So Shatik, if you want to go ahead to the next slide. So like Diane said, we have a larger group here tonight. Diane is pretending to be Sandy this evening. And then, as I said, my name is Olivia Freeland. I'm the Vice President for Construction. And then we'll have each of our teams from the programming group introduce themselves when we get to their portions of the program tonight. So again, thank you. Nice to be here tonight. My name is Olivia Freeland. As Diane said, I'm the Vice President for Construction at Central Park Conservancy. I'll start us off with a brief update on the construction progress. And anyone who's been in this area of the park lately can attest to the activity that's been taking place over the last several years, and we are happy to report that we are nearing completion. So go ahead to the next slide. This first slide is a view of the old Lasker Pool and Rink, which many of you are familiar with. The facility was a tremendously important as a recreational space to the community, but the facility was poorly designed. It was literally laid on the landscape, so it diverted the stream course that connected the 100th Street pool to the Mere into a culvert, which was an engineering miscalculation that caused constant flooding issues at the facility. It also served as a physical and visual barrier to the park, disrupting the flow of pedestrian circulation throughout the park. Go ahead to the next slide. So for these reasons, and after a thorough study, we knew the Lasker facility could not be repaired. So we sought to design a new facility with the objectives outlined here. We knew we were going to replace the existing facility and be able to repair the damaged landscape, provide the largest pool and rink possible in the restored site, remove the physical and visual barrier, develop a design inspired by the scenic landmark, build a space that would be welcoming, accessible, and environmentally sustainable, and serve more park users all year round. Go to the next slide. So here's just a rendering, pulled back rendering illustrating the fusing of architecture and landscape architecture to build a facility that basically disappears into the landscape. You see this a lot around Central Park. Bethesda Terrace, for example, is a great example. It's a very architectural space that's hidden from view until you approach it. The project is really a transformation of this area of the park with restoration of a portion of the Harlemere shoreline and reconnection of paths from the fort's landscape down across the green roof and to Huddlestone and the Northwoods. These new connections around the facilities will always be open, even if the program of the facility is restricted, like for example, during pool season. Park users will be able to seamlessly navigate around the building since it's now integrated into the landscape. Go ahead to the next slide. This is a section view of the facility, so you can visualize the interiors of the building. Up on the far right, you can see someone riding a bike on the park drive. Then you see the green roof, a skylight that goes down into the space, more green roof, and then the park path. The interior of the building is locker rooms and showers to support the public pool. And like I said, the larger gathering space with a glass curtain wall that pivots open to form basically a covered porch in the summer. And during other seasons, the doors can stay open in nice weather so that park users can sit on the picnic tables located inside there. Go ahead to the next slide. So now that we reoriented you to the facility, I'm just going to take you through a series of construction photos paired with renderings so you can see the final design intent with the current work. To remind everyone how far we've come at this point, September of 2021, we demolished the structure. Go ahead to the next slide. We created the support of excavation, which is essentially the back wall of the facility. We literally cut into the hillside to slide the building into the landscape. Go ahead to the next slide. This is where we constructed the superstructure. You're looking on the left is the interior of the space, and on the right is that large gathering space, that indoor-outdoor space. Go ahead to the next slide. And this is a view of the facility. Back in the fall, we filled the pool. We've actually filled the pool twice. If you've been around and seen some of the water in the pool to test the systems and waterproof, and it is all systems go. Go ahead to the next slide. This is an image of the green roof. So you can see, again, just to orient you, on the left would be the drive. Straight ahead of you, you can see Huddlestone Arch in the distance. And the green roof that we have here, it's actually known as an intensive green roof. That means that we were able to install full-size trees, shrubs, plant materials, more than just a typical green roof. Go ahead to the next slide. I think you will see an image of some of those large trees being placed. Go to the next slide. Just an image of the pool deck from the entrance. You can see this is where the artificial turf, so the green space. Next slide. And there you can see an image of all the glass pivot wall doors installed. Go to the next slide. This is a rendering of the interior space. On the left, you're looking actually south, and on the right, you're looking north. So a view from each end of the hallway. Go ahead. And then this is just a view of the installation of the wood panel ceiling, the glass panels on the wall. And this spine of the building really serves as the main hallway. To the left are where the restrooms, locker rooms, showers are accessed. And then you can see through these larger portals on the right down the hallway, that's how you would enter the gathering space. Go ahead to the next slide. So at this point in the project, we're working on all the interior fixtures and finishes. Go ahead through the next couple, Shatik. And you can see, again, here's just a rendering of the gathering space. You can see on the left, there's a skylight peeking through. Go ahead to the next. And I think we'll be able to see some of the finishes again, that wood ceiling. Go ahead to the next slide. So one of the critical pieces to this project is, again, being able to open the landscape back up and really return the park to the community. So on the left, you see this is a rendering of the daylit stream. Further ahead, where the rendering is, would be 110th Street, and then the path will go alongside of the stream. Go ahead to the next slide. This just gives you an idea looking back at that hillside where we recreated the stream. Go ahead to the next slide. We've also been working to remove sediments from the mere and restoring the shoreline edge, adding aquatic plantings. Go ahead to the next slide. The path you see here was added to the mere in the 40s. We're replacing it with a boardwalk to allow park users greater access to the water and to try and evoke that original condition of the mere where the water really lapped up against those beautiful rock outcrops. Go ahead to the next slide. And this is just an image of that boardwalk rendering. Go ahead to the next slide. And, you know, I'm the construction person, so one of my favorite photos of the spider crane that actually got us out over the water to install the boardwalk. And so then you can see the yellow barrier there was removed, and now the water is flowing under the boardwalk. Go ahead to the next slide. So one of the things that I think is really important, again, is part of the Conservancy being part of this project, is that the pool will be there in the summer, the skate rink will be there in the winter, but the public green will be there in the shoulder seasons. Go ahead to the next slide. So to support the rink and the green space program, we are installing a riser system in the bottom of the pool that would support the rink and the artificial turf. Our contractor, who is really an entertainment staging company, began the installation in January, and we're in the process of setting up the rink. Go ahead to the next slide. You can see here there's grading that goes on top of that structure, as well as insulation. Go ahead to the next slide. And then you can see here we're setting up the rink. The rink itself, if you remember, the previous concessionaire actually had two smaller rinks. We will have one single full-size NHL regulation rink. Go ahead to the next slide. So before I turn it over to Leah, we are in the process of commissioning the rink. The mechanicals will be tested, and then we will be deinstalling the rink, and the artificial turf will be installed. So each season, each pool season, the riser will go in and be the primary state of the space, either as a rink or a green space. So now I'll pass it over to Leah.
Great. Thank you so much, Olivia. It is great to be here with you all. I'm Leah Day Van Horn. I serve as the Conservancy's Chief of Staff and Vice President for Strategy and Programming. And I'm joined by my colleagues, Darlene, Stormy, and Shatik of the Public Programs and Government Relations teams, who are all going to get a chance to speak in just a moment. But first of all, the Public Programs team is just thrilled to be able to be here, finally talking about programming this space. I know you've seen many presentations about its design and construction, so it's the big moment where we get to talk about all of the good work we're doing around bringing this to life from a programmatic perspective. If you go to the next slide, We truly feel like the Davis Center is going to be a welcoming place for all, or with diverse programming for all ages, and the majority of that being free and low cost. The Conservancy is just super committed to making this space accessible, inclusive, and enriching for everyone. So if all goes as planned, we feel that the return of the once beloved Lasker and this public amenity in its re-envisioned state will really have a tremendous impact on both the experience of visiting Central Park and on the communities that surround the park's north end. So between its sustainable design of both the facility and the landscape, year-round access across all seasons on different surfaces, as Olivia said, we'll have rink, pool, and now our Harlem Oval. As well as our new community-led programming model, which really prioritizes public programming over profit and affordable pricing, both really key tenets to what we're trying to do here. We really think it's going to be a community destination and just a wonderful place to skate, to swim, to play and discover, to relax and picnic, and to take a tour or just a nature walk, just honestly breathe and escape the city like the rest of the park. So even before we started construction, community engagement has been at the core of this project, and that's still very much the case today. Over the last year, we've been super busy continuing dialogue with community members about what is most needed out of the venue. That's really important to us, that we're doing as much listening as possible. And this was done through a ton of surveying over the summer when we were out there programming our Harlem Year Performance Festival, tabling at events like Harlem Week, messaging through our North End newsletter, which is a fairly new endeavor just to keep the community updated on the progress of the project. And that's now going actually to over 12,000 people monthly. And then as you'll see later in the presentation, we've just been talking to many community-based organizations, schools, and local businesses. Honestly, anyone who's willing to take 30 minutes and spend some time with us. So finally, we really have intentionally selected our year one program partners. And these are organizations whose missions and values are in complete alignment with our goals for the Davis Center. So we're thrilled to be able to use the Davis Center's platform and the Conservancy's platform to just help amplify all the amazing work these smaller organizations are doing day in and day out. If you go to the next slide, this speaks to the 3 seasons Olivia was showing you. This really showcases the expanded access year-round to the facility. And particularly, you can see there those new green slivers. These represent additional time that the public will have access to public restrooms, an indoor gathering space, and the new public green space, or Harlem Oval. And it's important to note that those little slivers in gray are the short windows of time where the facility will turn over between use. But during that time, the public will still have access to the green roof and to the new paths along the shoreline and the stream course. And then, of course, we have our July and August pool season and our rink season, assuming the weather all works out, roughly from November to March. Next slide. Okay, so what does success look like for us in year one, which I think will be different than year 2 and year 3. We're just figuring this thing out one step at a time, but it's important that we really take time over the course of the first year to test out what kinds of programs resonate most with the people coming to enjoy the space. So we want to do a smattering of everything and sort of see what sticks and what people find the most enjoyable. And then, of course, as is the case with any new building, we want to make sure that we're fully functional and that the customer service we're providing is super top notch. We're also prioritizing local hiring. This is really important to us. We want to make sure that the staff on site is reflective of the communities that we hope to serve. And we also want to use this project as a platform to share other opportunities for jobs here at the Conservancy. So there's always a section of our North End newsletter dedicated to open positions here on our staff. And then, as mentioned before, we're really laser focused really on building successful, trustworthy partnerships with local nonprofits and schools. And then finally, planning to track the facility's impact on the community in a myriad of ways by tracking visitation, collecting feedback regularly, testing out just a variety of programs to see what resonates most, as I mentioned, and just ensuring that local partners and school groups have equitable access to the facility, which wasn't always the case in its previous form, and that they're able to help fulfill their missions through use of the facility. So we really look forward to returning to CB8 and just reporting back on all of these metrics and how we're doing. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my terrific colleague, Darlene. She's our Director of Public Programs and our General Manager of the Davis Center.
Thank you, Leah, and it's a pleasure to meet everyone. My name is Darlene Lelaine. I'm the Director of Public Programs and General Manager of the Davis Center. And if you're ever passing by the Davis Center, I look forward to meeting you in person because that's where I'll be based. So here's a glimpse of some of the programs we'll offer. During the spring and fall, the Harlem Oval will come alive with outdoor wellness classes, nature activities, school field days, and specialized North End tours. Designed for relaxation rather than high-impact sports, the Oval is the perfect place to unwind. We're excited to partner with Multitasking Yogi, Go Hard Go Dance, and others to offer a variety of fun programs. Next slide. We view the Harlem Oval as an extension of the park, a space to slow down, gather, and connect. That's why much of our programming here focuses on calm and connect and games on the green. Next slide. In the winter months, the ice rink will offer community skate sessions, learn to skate classes, learn to play, and hockey leagues for both youth and adults. We are committed to expanding community access and are prioritizing partnerships with local organizations such as Figure Skating in Harlem, Ice Hockey in Harlem, the Central Park North Stars, and the American Special Hockey Association. These organizations have utilized Alaska Rink in the past, and while we maintain a strong relationship with each of them, these organizations are independent nonprofits that run their own programs, but we are committed to providing them with dedicated ice time to deliver their impactful initiatives. Next slide. Unlike Lasker Rink, which focused more on hockey, our vision is to create a balanced ice experience with more community skating, which is in light blue, and that's over 50% of our schedule, prioritizing partnerships with local organizations, which is in light green, and offering other ice programs. Next slide. Now, as we head towards the first public pool season, we are extremely focused on working with the Parks Department to develop a swim program that resonates with the needs of the community. The outdoor pool will be open from 11 to 7 starting at the end of June. But if you're not swimming, there are plenty of activities to do. Join us for a guided tour of the amazing Davis Center, soak up the fun at Summer on the Harlem Mere, or groove to some live jazz at the Great Jazz on the Great Hill featuring Jazzmobile. Plus, the Dana Discovery offers fishing, discovery kits, lawn games, while the Central Park Farm Stand and Corbin Hill brings fresh and local produce. So no matter your interest, whether it's music, nature, or just relaxing, Central Park has something for everyone. Now I'll hand it over to my colleague Stormy McNair to discuss our community engagement plans.
Why, thank you, Darlene. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having us and sharing a moment of your time. Now, along with Darlene, I will also be based at the Davis Center as the Senior Manager of Programming Partnerships. I'm looking forward to meeting you all in person when you come to visit. In addition to engaging our program partners, we've been spreading the word about the new Davis Center to wonderful organizations across the community, many of which are listed here on this slide. We've been taking time to get to know these CBOs who are excited to offer the support in spreading the word as well. Now, we are aware that this is a state-of-the-art facility and many will come to experience the welcoming and sustainable design as well as our year-round programming. Now, since its beginnings, the Central Park Conservancy has been dedicated to caring for the Harlem Mere and the north end of Central Park, and the Davis Center is a continuation of that commitment. While this is undoubtedly serving the crucial hub of the Harlem community, it truly is for everyone. Next slide, please. Part of raising awareness, we also step outside of the park's perimeter to spread the word about the Davis Center. Here, we are pictured at the Harlem Week, where we table annually, and a photo of the team is beside it with Councilman Yusuf Salam at the District 5 Superintendent's meeting. Now, I'd like to turn it over to Shatik Mitchell, who will share more about the work in the North End.
Thanks, Stormy. So We envision the Davis Center as being connected to all of the great things happening in the park. And what you see here is a map of the north end of the park. Over the past 30 years, the Conservancy has made significant investments in the north end through various restoration and improvement projects. One of the most notable is the Conservatory Garden located on Fifth Avenue between 104th and 106th Streets, which many of you, I'm sure, are already familiar with. The garden is currently undergoing its comprehensive restoration, comprehensive restoration since 1983. This project includes rebuilding pavements and fountains, modernizing infrastructure, and restoring benches, enhancing accessibility with new ramps and pathways. This restoration is on track to be completed by early May. On the upper west side of the park, we have the North Meadow Center, located just north of 97th Street, which is also undergoing a major transformation to enhance the visitor experience. This project includes resurfaced handball and basketball courts, new pickleball courts, accessible restrooms, chess and checkers tables, bike racks, and upgraded public amenities. We are looking at a completion date for this project in late spring to early summer. Meanwhile, in the North Woods, which is one of my favorite parts of the park, it's a 40-acre woodland made for nature lovers. The North Woods features the ravine and the historic Black House, which is also the oldest structure in the park. The North Woods offers a quiet escape from the city. It's relaxing, perfect for walking, exploring, and just enjoying nature. And then we have the Dana Discovery Center, which offers free educational programs, catch and release fishing at the Harlem Mare, free discovery kits, lawn games, exhibits, and community events such as the Harlem Mare Performance Fest. And we currently have an ongoing exhibit that tells the story of how the Central Park gates were named, which highlights the park's entrances and includes the recently dedicated Gate of the Exonerated. The Central Park Conservancy, as mentioned earlier, has also partnered with Corbin Hill Food Project, which is a Harlem-based nonprofit that hosts the Central Park Farm Stand, located at 110th Street and Malcolm X Boulevard, offering fresh, affordable produce sourced directly from BIPOC-owned farms in upstate New York. Last season, the farm stand operated on Saturdays from July through November, and we accepted SNAP, EBT, and WIC, ensuring accessibility and affordability for all. This initiative is part of our commitment to providing fresh, healthy food options, and we look forward to having it back this summer. And finally, the Conservancy has also partnered with NYPD's Community Link. It's an initiative to enhance public safety and quality of life in the North End. By working closely with city agencies and local stakeholders, we are advancing efforts in beautification, expanding access to mental health services, and addressing homelessness. Through this initiative, we've already connected 48 individuals to transitional housing, a milestone we are incredibly proud of. And I'll pass it back to you, Leah.
Great. Thank you so much, Shatik. So before we turn it over to answer any questions, we can't help but ask you to save the date for our official opening of the Davis Center. It's amazing that we've reached this moment, but Saturday, April 26th, roughly from about 12 to 4 p.m., we're going to be hosting a big old welcome event to celebrate the opening of the center. So we'll have all of our partners present doing a variety of activities and hosting tables, light bites, music, tours of the facility. It's going to be amazing. So we really hope you all join us to celebrate what feels like a very long journey for our organization. And then lastly, on the last slide, we just wanted to make sure that you all had access to an email address that you could use for any additional questions that you might have. So from here on out, you can email daviscenter@centralparknyc.org with anything that comes to mind, and our team will get back to you. But are there any questions we can help answer on the project? I know that was a lot of information.
John, can you help me because I can't see if hands are raised?
Phyllis Wallach is so far the only one with a hand raised.
Okay, let's unmute Phyllis.
I'm just curious, where is the stuff that supports the rink and the turf go when the pool is open? Like, do you have to store that somewhere? I'm just curious how that magic is happening.
Yes, it's a really good question. I'm not sure if all of our speakers can be unmuted, but I'm happy to tell you that we the firm that Olivia was mentioning, who's built it for us, also takes it away for us and stores it in a warehouse in Pennsylvania. So
Yeah.
it has offsite storage, which is great.
Yeah. Yeah, each year they'll, take it off site, they'll do an inspection on it, any repairs that are needed, and then they'll come back out and reinstall it.
Thank you. That sounds great. It's exciting.
Rita?
Kudos to all of you. You have done something that nobody said was possible. You have turned a sow's ear into a silk purse. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I have been the grandmother who has watched hockey with the two hockey rinks, and nobody was happy, and it was just a mess, and it was unbelievable. My question is, will you have any kind of transportation for elderly people, since I'm one of them, to get to meet a bus that would take you to this area, to the Mears, from, let's say, 86th Street? Or it's just that you have to rely on the Fifth Ave, on the Fifth Ave, no.
You can enter the park at 110th and Lenox, right at the top of the park, and it's a very short walk right down the hill. And then, of course, it can be accessed from the east side, on the shoreline, the southern end of the Harlem Mere, or via the Northwoods. But the most direct route is at 110th Street, and it really kind of is right inside the park.
Thank you.
And also just to mention, actually, one of the improvements we're making to the paths that come off of 110th Street is we're installing an accessible ramp there. So there'll be an accessible path all the way from 110th to the building.
Thank you.
And I believe extra bike racks as well for those who want to access it via bike.
I don't see anyone else with their hands up, but
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead, Judy.
On one of the slides, the heading on the top of the slide said Gottesman Pool. Does the pool have a separate name from the Davis Center?
That's an eagle eye. I appreciate that question very much. It does. The project was funded, as you may know already, by a group of donors, in addition to the city of New York, who also committed a great deal of money to the project. But the donor who has contributed to the rink and the pool will have their name on the rink and the pool. So it'll be the Gottesman Rink and Pool at the Davis Center. And the way that NYC Parks works with the way they list the pool publicly is that it is the physical name of the pool that gets listed publicly. So while we'll be using Davis Center as kind of our umbrella name for the center, when it is a public pool, it'll be known as Gottesman Pool. And that's Ruth and Alice Gottesman, the generous donors who supported that part of the project.
And who are the Davises?
Andrew and Kate Davis, and it's their parents' family foundation, the Shelby Cullum Davis Foundation. And they made the largest gift to the project. And so they have the naming rights for the facility. And Andrew is also, I should mention, vice chair of the Conservancy's Board of Trustees.
And Miles Fink has his hand up.
Hi, I also just wanted to say I think what you guys are doing with the space is so incredible, so needed to the park. But I did just have one question, specifically in regard to the ice rink and the pool. Are there going to be, on-site lifeguards or personnel for the ice rink and the pool just to ensure safety? Thank you.
Sure, I feel like I'm hogging the mic, so I'll let Darlene field that one.
Yeah.
But yes.
Well, definitely for the ice rink, we've hired an operator, so we will have coaches. There will be some things. Safety is foremost, as Leah mentioned, not only a functional facility, but providing excellent support, excellent service. And in order to do that, safety is first and foremost. We are working with the Parks Department to ensure that we are in compliance in any season that we're doing something. So there will be lifeguards, but we will have for the ice rink, we'll have coaches. We'll also teach you how to fall properly because a lot of times people forget, skate is a blade. So that's going to be one of the fun things. But yeah, the goal is to really make it fun and enjoyable for any season.
And I'll make a plug on behalf of NYC Parks. They are holding signups for lifeguard tryouts at the moment and hoping to get a big turnout. So if you know of anyone who wants to spend their summer as a lifeguard, especially at our facility, let us know, and we're happy to circle back with materials for how to go about doing that.
One other question, how deep is the pool?
It's 3 feet 8 inches, all the way across, except for the 0 grade entry point, which is the accessible entry point.
Okay. Do we have any other questions?
I think Miles has his hand up again.
Hi, thank you. Sorry about all the questions. But with all these beautiful facilities, I just have to ask, in regard to possible homeless or displaced persons' activities in the area, potentially camping out or staying in the facilities, kind of what's the strategy there? Are they going to be allowed to stay there? Are you going to have people on site to help bring them to shelters? Yeah, thank you.
Sure. Shatik, do you want to field that one?
I'm on mute. Could you say that one more time, Miles?
I wanted to ask, with all the beautiful facilities you have, it's probably bound to attract potential homelessness activity or displaced peoples or just people looking for refuge. And I'm just kind of curious as to what the strategy there is with that. Do you have officials to kind of help bring them to shelters, or are you going to kick them out? I don't know. I'm just kind of curious as of that. Thank you.
No, it's a
Well,
good question.
luckily, we work very closely, our operations team, with the Central Park Precinct. They're located in the park, so they deal with all public safety issues or concerns in the park. They have canvassed the area. They are coming up with a safety plan. We will have cameras and things of that nature. We're taking the public safety portion of this project very seriously. In regards to homelessness, we do have like I said earlier, on 110th Street, we're operating with Community Link. Community Link, they usually canvass 110th Street corridor about 3 to 4 times per week, offering homeless services, offering services for people who are dealing with substance abuse and mental health as well. Now, sometimes, the homeless population, they will go into the park and then sometimes they're in the woods. It's kind of hard to spot them. On those instances, our conservancy staff, they're trained to, reach out and contact 311, and we do have a direct link to DHS as well. And usually DHS will send someone out within 30 minutes to an hour to address that homeless person in need. So yes.
That Mike's question leads me to ask, what are the hours for the facility, or is the facility closed at a certain hour? Or can people get in all night long? How does that work?
So we do have a gate at the facility for the overnights. It will be open sort of different per season, actually, but during turf season from 7 a.m. to roughly dusk, with much like the timing of our opening and closures of our playgrounds in the park. And then, or maybe it's 8 a.m. I can't remember, Darlene, during turf. And then the rink hours will be much more extended because we do see late night hockey league use and early morning skating happening. And then the public pool hours, Darlene, remind me, it's 11 to 7? Yeah, 11 a.m. to 7. And the public pool will have the gate in place while the pool is open. That's just per how NYC Parks runs the public pool. You will have to walk in through the gate and shower through the building before you can access the pool deck. But during turf and rink seasons, we anticipate the gate being open when the facility's open, and really a place for anyone to come and enjoy the facility. So yeah.
I'm assuming, because this was presented quite a while ago, that there is in the evening lighting for the hockey rink and the pool.
Absolutely.
By 7, the pool, it's still probably light out, but at least in the winter season, you do have lighting in that area.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Okay. There's no official kind of scoreboard or anything during the hockey season, is there?
There will be a scoreboard, yes. But Darlene, do you want to field this? As she mentioned, we are really seeking a better balance between community skate and hockey, while also obviously doing everything we can to support the need for ice for the hockey community. 2 scoreboards, Olivia? 1 scoreboard. I can't remember. 1 scoreboard.
And it'll be something that actually comes with the rink. When the rink is installed, the board will go up and then it'll be taken away after rink season.
That makes sense. Okay, does anyone else have any other questions? John, do you see any other hands?
Miles has his hand up again.
Okay, Miles. Go
Sorry,
ahead.
I keep asking so many questions. I
That's
just
okay,
think
that's
such a
fine.
great thing going on.
We're happy to
Um,
talk about it.
For primarily the public use spaces, like the pool, when the ice rink is public and the green area, is there going to be, and I assume the answer is yes, is there going to be a capacity limit? Are you going to be, like counting the people on it, cutting people off? Just kind of that kind of thing, yeah.
We will be, yes. We'll have different capacities per season. And then, of course, a plan for line management as needed. So different per season. The turf is a little bit different. Think of the turf as more of a public green or a lawn space, just like the other lawns in the park, just with, very close proximity to bathrooms and a place to take cover if it rains.
Well, I just want to thank you. I bike around the park and have watched the construction taking place, and it's really impressive, the transformation. So
Thank
kudos to
you.
everyone, and it's exciting to hear about the programming and the emphasis on really serving the needs of the community.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all for coming, and we'll look forward for you keeping us up to date on any future changes, and particularly after year 1, we'll have you come back and tell us what you're planning for year 2. Also, could you give John, you said there was an email address for a letter. I think that we would be interested in, some of us may be receiving that letter so that we have a better handle as to what's going on there.
Happy to follow up with both the presentation, the email address to use if you have questions, as well as the way to sign up for our newsletter.
Right. John, you'll take care of the presentation, right?
Yes. Just wanted to let you know, Rania is trying to raise their hand as well. They have a question, so I don't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to.
Okay, let's call on them.
Hi. Oh, sorry. One moment. There I am. Where am I? Okay, sorry. I'm somewhat computer illiterate. I'm just curious why the hours end at 7 p.m. I mean, it is pretty early, especially in the summer. Is that a staffing issue, or is it some other reason?
All the public pools have the same hours throughout the city.
But can they be adjusted? Because that's pretty. I mean, there's a lot of hour lag time left anyway.
I imagine it's a staffing thing just because of how many lifeguards are required to have open, but also I guess really it always is about sort of as dusk starts to set in, a safety issue for swimming.
Okay, thank you.
Barbara, can we answer your question?
I just wanted to know, of course, it's been great. I remember going there at the very beginning for a tour. But Judy and Felice and the presenters, should we have a resolution to say we accept it, or it's not necessary?
I don't think it's necessary. The next issue is a different, on the agenda, different story. Okay, well, thank you all very much. We really appreciate your coming, and we look forward to hearing from you after the first year.
Judy, Phyllis also, sorry, don't interrupt. Just want to say
Phyllis,
there.
you still have a question? Go ahead.
So when the turf is up, what's the dog situation?
Darlene's favorite topic, so I'm gonna let her take that one.
Well, considering Phyllis was sitting there holding her dog most of the presentation, I don't know if you all noticed that.
My dog was jealous, Phyllis. I noticed.
Darlene needs to unmute.
So is
Hello. Yes, there we go. So we do love dogs, but unfortunately, at this time on the turf, specifically, dogs will not be allowed. But we do love dogs. We love all animals, but for the turf, for the artificial turf. But hey, Central Park is for all, so there's a lot of places for the dogs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, are we finished now, John?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you all for coming, and Felice, you want to take item 2?
Sure. So at one of the prior meetings, we talked about a concept for a new park space located in the core of Community Board 8 to support seniors. And I wanted to give Amy Paul an opportunity to bring this issue up again. And Amy, I think John, if you could unmute Amy.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me now? Oh, great. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak here today. I ask for your support for the development of green public areas within the core area of the Upper East Side. And that's an area that makes it's accessible to most Upper East Side residents to whom a walk to Central Park or Carl Schurz is probably too far. Research says, particularly for older individuals, that parks need to be between 10 and 15 minutes from their homes if individual seniors are going to access them. As you know from your work, research shows that being outdoors, especially in a green space, is a healthy environment for everyone, and again, especially for older individuals. Mental health and physical health. The research shows that older individuals, if they have a neighborhood park to go to and they participate in activities there, their depression, their loneliness, etc., is muted when they go to these places on a regular basis. And the important thing is that the Upper East Side air quality could also be enhanced if we add greenery parks to the Upper East Side core area. If you, like me, watch all of these sky-high apartment buildings going up on the Upper East Side core area, I ask myself, oh my gosh, that means more and more people are going to be coming to the Upper East Side, and more importantly, they are probably going to be bringing their cars. So if we could develop some green space treed areas in the core of the Upper East Side, we might be also contributing to the environmental health of our areas. Many of you know that I also hope to engage these parks to include some senior exercise areas, which Europe and Asia have done and are popular and have shown, proven time and time again, research that older individuals who go to some of these exercise parks, if they were in the core especially, would be reachable, but they would find enhanced physical health as well as psychological health. And the research there is just very powerful. So I know I don't have a lot of time to talk about this. I really appreciate the opportunity that you've given me to put that on your table. I hope you can support this important addition to Upper East Side life. One important thing to remember when you're discussing this is Upper West Side has many parks and public sitting areas in its core area. The New York City Parks actually put out a map that is staggering in terms of the difference between the parks that are in the core area of Upper West Side and the fact that the Upper East Side has none in its core area. So I hope that you'll be able to support this important addition to Upper East Side life. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Barbara, do you have a question?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, it's hard to not agree with that wonderful idea, but I wonder if Amy has any idea of where it would go. We have looked quite a bit. When I was co-chair with Peggy Price, we looked quite a bit. We were hoping that this staging area for the east, whatever it's called, the East Side Connection, or something on 60-something Street and Second Avenue would be able to convert it, and it couldn't. So I wonder if you do know something that can be. And the second, I do with a little bit of sadness talk about the senior equipment. First of all, I hope that eventually we'll be on the East River. Peggy and I, and I'm sure that some remember this, worked very hard to get senior equipment in the back of John Jay Park. It would have been the perfect area. We had somebody that was willing to donate it, and it causes political uproar. So I've been to China where I saw it. I've been to London where I saw it in Hyde Park. I hear about it on the beaches of Tel Aviv, and it's an unbelievably wonderful idea. I don't know how you get it through without it causing a lot of problems. So I hope you're successful, Amy. I would more than support it, but I wonder if there's any idea of where there's space for such.
Let's hear from Rita, Amy, before you answer that, because I think Felice and I have something to say. Rita?
Amy, space is coming. It's called the Rupert Park. And any day soon, perhaps, it will be built. The park is there. It is now mostly used by dogs, and seating is very limited. And if you do find a seat, generally the birds have gotten to it first. So I know that Felice and Judy know my angst about this park. Hopefully, a shovel will be in the ground and we will welcome everybody to come and sit in our park.
Well, Rita, you're absolutely right, but I think that's not what Amy's looking for, because Rupert Park is very much to the east. That's the problem with Board 8. Most of our parks are from Second Avenue over, with the exception of Seabury and Asphalt Green, which are at the top of the district. I think Amy's looking for the core of the district.
Right.
So,
Third Avenue, Lexington, Second, something more like that. And in the 70s, because there's nothing there, 70s, high 60s, 80s, low 80s. In terms of where would I consider it? I have my eye on a couple of spaces, but basically I think that it could be developed wherever you see these tenements demolished. More and more you see these 4 to 5 story buildings coming down, being brought down, and then the big apartment buildings get put up there instead. And for example, I think there was one on 80th and 3rd. There are 3 or 4 buildings right now, tenement height that are in the process of demolishing their stores. And I haven't taken a look yet, but to see if that could be developed into a green space rather than whatever else is coming, and we think it's a big apartment building. So I think there are a lot of areas like that that could create sort of large pocket parks with green space, not the parks the size of Carl Schurz, because for sure that's not going to happen. I don't know if that answers your question.
Well, thank you. And Barbara, before I get to you, I just want to suggest one thing. So because this is a complicated issue, and we know that this is an incredibly dense district, but at the same time, we do have the highest number of residents over the age of 65 in our community. 21% of our residents are over 65 compared to an average of 14% citywide. And given some of the issues that Amy raised about seniors feeling isolated and the lack of amenities and the health benefits of providing opportunities for people to be active and healthy, and combined with the what other cities have done, we'd like to suggest a resolution that asks the Department of Parks and Recreation to study the feasibility of this. We know it's complicated. We know there are lots of issues, so a study seemed like a way of really looking into this and seeing what the options could be. And I will turn it over to Barbara and then Sahar.
You know, the walk-up apartments are private. You know, people have a right to make money, but I do have an idea, and it may not be accepted by everybody. When a developer comes to us and wants to build not as of right, taller, something else, we usually ask, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, usually ask for affordable housing or some other thing in exchange. One of the things in my building is an example that it used to be is they asked for something called POPs, publicly owned private space, where it was owned by the building, whether it's a co-op, a condo, or rental, or whatever, but it is open to the public. That is possibly one way of doing it, of saying, you know, let's make bargains when a developer comes and says he wants something as right. I don't think we can ask a developer to give up millions of dollars to have a park. One of the things that was thought about with Julie Menon, I think, when she first came, is there's often a very long gap between the time that a building is raised, meaning with the Z, R-A-Z-E-D, and when it's raised, R-A-I-S-E-D. And can there be any way of temporarily saying, let's use that space, let's have the city come and temporarily use that in some sort of greening? What I've heard all along, because we have worked on it, is that means there has to be insurance, that it isn't feasible, but maybe we could work on that a little bit longer. And by temporary, I don't mean 2 weeks, I mean years. One of my pet places is on 86th Street between First and York. I know that's not your area, but as an example, where it's been 20 years that their buildings have been down and they're ugly, horrible. And if we can make green space out of it, it would be wonderful. So certainly it's something that we've thought about, and I would love to support it. I just wish we could find it.
I very much appreciate. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just gonna call on Sahar.
And maybe you would comment also, Felice, on what I said about the POPs.
I don't know what the rules are around POPs, but you know, I think it's something that we could add to a resolution.
Is Will on the call? John?
No, he's not on the call.
Oh,
I know in my building, it was
I
required.
think Barbara, I'm not sure that the POPs are still, that those plazas are still in existence. We'd have to check that out with Will. He probably would know that.
Could be. There is a lot of
Yeah, no,
parks
people
that are
got,
very pretty to sit in throughout.
yeah, no, people got higher buildings because they gave you that space, green space at the street level. But I think that that is not in existence anymore, but I'm not positive. So let's check that with Will before we, if he doesn't know, I'm sure he can get us an answer, but I'm sure he probably knows. Sahar?
Yeah, hi. First of all, I just want to say this is so needed, and thank you for thinking of this, Amy. And actually, I was going to say something similar to what Barbara has mentioned, and I was just thinking that some of these buildings, which Judy, I know, there's one on 79th and Second, Continental Towers, and there's another one like I think maybe between York and First. They do have this space which is open to the public, and I think again it was because of this airspace. I was just thinking rather than like transforming everything, they do have that space, but it's more like some tables and like some space to sit for people. But is it possible that till you find real space for like more green and that you can really transform and make it completely different and more kind of useful for all the neighbors, is it possible to even request those buildings and put in some extra space that kind of bring in some greenery in there, or some, as I was listening, that about what Barbara was mentioning about John Jay, this is before I joined the board, but but like having those kind of those kind of things requested with those buildings, is it possible just to like kind of use what structure we already have and request them to add something and transform them and make them a little more useful? Because many of these buildings are much older, and so what they did at that point can be probably better utilized now, and that is already in the system that it is for the public. So I was just thinking that till we find those green space, and I hope we do, could we work with what is already available?
I have had some conversations about the POP properties, if you will. I don't know if you're familiar with the property at 211 East 71st Street, but that's a wonderful example where the developer put in a very large public space and it works very well in the community. It happens to attract just about every mommy and nanny in the area, and not so much older and senior folks. But I think it's all worth pursuing. I think the most important thing in my view is that we get going, because the way that the Upper East Side is being developed today, the urgency of putting these sky-high buildings will leave us with no response, no opportunity to build green space if we don't get going on it. And that's my priority, is to get going and study and do it.
Felice, do you want to?
So seeing no other questions, no other hands up, is there someone who would, or I suggested a resolution. Does someone want to second the proposed resolution? And Sahar.
Felice, why don't you, Felice and I kind of worked on this together, so Felice had really good thoughts. Why don't you read your thoughts, and then people can add, subtract, whatever to it.
Absolutely. Whereas Community District 8 has the second highest number of residents in New York City aged 65 and over, whereas 21% of residents of District 8 are 65 and over compared to a citywide average of 14%, whereas many seniors feel isolated and lack amenities to help them stay active and healthy, whereas parks and open space are vital for the health and well-being of residents, whereas cities such as Berlin, London, and Tokyo have created dedicated senior playgrounds, Whereas public space for seniors to congregate and exercise can have significant health benefits for our aging population. Whereas parks and public spaces in our district are mostly located on the east side of the district and not in the core. Therefore, be it resolved, Community Board 8 requests the New York City Department of Parks and Recreation study the feasibility of establishing parks in Community District 8 that are dedicated to the health and well-being of our senior residents in the core of our district. Rita?
Call the question.
Is anyone opposed? All in favor? Okay, great. So just to confirm who's here.
Great resolution. Great.
It is obviously Judy, Rita, Barbara Rutter, Barry Schneider, Bradley Hershenson, and Sahar Hussein. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes, and Irma is excused from tonight's meeting.
So now we can move
Thank you
on
so
to.
much. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Now we can move on to Sheena's report.
Good evening, everyone. I'm gonna read the first part of my report, and then Rob McLean is going to take over from there. Okay. So Central Park did mention something that was great. We are doing hiring for the summer season, which we already started, but we're getting ready to have a job fair, right? It's going to be at High Bridge. I'm going to send you the flyer, right? So you can post up, but we're having a job fair at High Bridge on March 12th from 11 to 4. And we have 11 other agencies that's going to participate in this job fair. But Parks is hiring. We're hiring for APS, motor vehicle operators, city park workers, city seasonal aid, and lifeguards. So, and they can go to our parks website and they can apply for the jobs as well. But for the job fair, I'm going to send the flyer to CB8 so you can post it and distribute it, accordingly.
What is that job fair again?
It's going to be at Highbridge Park Recreation Center. Let me give you the address. It's on 173rd Street and Amsterdam Avenue. It's going to be inside the Recreation Center. It's going to be start at 11 and we're going to end at 4. And because not only Parks is going to be there, but 11 other agencies. I can't name them off the top of my head. But we were just told 11 other agencies have agreed to come and join us in being able to hire for the season.
And the date again? March, what was the date?
March 12th.
You?
Okay, now I'm going to turn it over to Mike so he can finish up the report.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to be talking about some items here that are listed. I will start with the 24 Sycamore Playground. We've tentatively scheduled the community input meeting to kick off the design process for the renovation project on Wednesday, March 26th at 6:30. As soon as the date is confirmed, we'll be sending you a flyer as well. Okay. And then as far as Carl Schurz Park, we've been having a problem with a person that is feeding the birds. And in response to this issue for feeding the pigeons, we've taken proactive steps by requesting the assistance of the Park Enforcement Patrol. So they'll try once again to catch this individual, and we are assigning a team there early in the morning. And as a preventative tactic, we're going to schedule 2 staff members to come in also at 6 a.m. for a few weeks to clean up immediately after the bird food is spread on the promenade. So we're trying our best to address this ongoing problem, and we'll keep you informed. We have some information on Samuel Seabury Playground. The scaffolding removal as of February 4th, the scaffolding from the adjacent building has not been removed inside the playground, and we're actively working with the Parks and Interagency Division to address this matter. Your understanding in this ongoing process is appreciated. So as soon as we find out some other information, we'll get back to you. I have something to talk about Rupert Park that you're interested in. Our engineers hope to meet the DEP in the next couple of weeks to try to iron out what apparently is the last major resigning issue for the Stormwater Pollution Prevention Act, so it can be approved. Once we clear that hurdle, the project can enter a procurement phase, and when it goes out for bid, if all goes well, the construction contract will be awarded. Yeah, we have some information on St. Catherine's as well. For St. Catherine's Playground, there is an update on the playground for the MPPA renovation. The good news is that we determined that the SWPP is unnecessary because we are preserving much of the subgrade and disturbing less soil than one would require. As Community Board 8's request, we are looking at phasing in the work so the multi-purpose play area with the basketball courts can be done first. That way, the schools will be able to utilize the renovated space, and the play equipment is under construction. We have some information about the Queensboro Oval, the Cleaning the Bubble. The concessionaire plans to power wash the bubble in the next few weeks after the weather warms up, but our concession staff cautions us this may not succeed in removing the rust stains. The answer may be with the concessionaires installing a new bubble in a color that hides the rust from the bridge better when the next agreement is entered in 2029. Additionally, I have some information that Steve Simon just sent me. This is the District 15 sinkholes. Last month, our consultant investigated the sinkholes along the East River Esplanade from 70th Street to 75th Street using what's called ground penetrating radar. They found several voids, and they are engaging another contractor to dig test pits next to determine the cause of the sinkholes at 70th and 71st and 74th Streets. The plan is still to include these sinkholes repairs as part of the Phase 3 project to restore these sections of the Esplanade in the Community Board 8 area, and to do this work as quickly as possible to facilitate the improvements that will be done by the 70s by the Hospital for Special Surgery. The results of the test pits will hopefully determine the cause of the sinkholes. If another agency's infrastructure is causing the problem, we will need to coordinate with them. We will keep you updated after we get a contractor's report. Sorry, that was quite a bit of information for you, but a lot of good news anyway. You have any questions that I might answer?
I just want to add, because I also spoke with Steve today, Rita.
Yeah.
If the meeting with the DEP and Parks goes well and they decide on the drainage problem, then Steve told me that spring of 26 they would start the work on Rupert Park, and the park will be closed. It will not be phased. So you got information tonight, Rita, which you haven't gotten in many, many months. It may not be what you want to hear, but at least you got information tonight.
Well, let me also, if you have something that you'd like me or Sheena to address for you, just email us and we'll try to, we'll try to do it for you for the next meeting. Yeah, if you have any
Yes.
things you want me to do.
We do appreciate everything that you told us tonight, Robert. It's very helpful. I happened to be speaking to Steve about another issue that I needed an answer for. And so he told me that, because whenever I speak to Steve, I always ask him about Rupert Park. I can't
Yeah.
end the phone call without doing that.
No, we know that.
So, uh, so that I think is good news. Parks Department is proceeding on a lot of our projects that we have going. Robert, I would ask that this March 26th meeting,
Yeah.
that not only you send a notice to Board 8 and ask them to post it on their calendar, because it's your meeting, it's a parks meeting, it's not a community board meeting. But would you also contact, Jesus Perez, the district manager for Board 6? Yeah, I can send you his information.
Yeah. Okay, for Board 6, for CB6.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can do that. You want to just Jesus? I'm so sorry. What's this
Perez.
other? Perez. Yeah.
Perez. He's the
Yeah.
district manager for 6. And ask him to post as well, since 24 Sycamores is really at the dividing line of Board 6 and 8. There
Yeah.
are a lot of people from Board 6 that use this park, including your former Parks Commissioner. So I think we should let them know about the meeting as well.
Okay, just send me an email and I'll get
I
right
will.
on it.
I will. I'll give you his info.
But I do want to say one thing. Sheena and I worked together in the past for 3 years, and there's no one in parks that works as well as she does. Nobody. We also have Lori Knowles, and you also have me, which is as worthless as I am, as a husband to my wife, she'll tell you. I'll try to do the best I can for you.
No, you've been doing a terrific job. You gave us a lot of good information tonight. So we thank you for that. We thank you both for that. Does
Can I
anyone
just-
have?
Sorry,
Go ahead.
just one clarification. The sinkholes from 70th to 75th Street that you're investigating, and thank you for actually taking a look at what's causing it and trying to look at the solution rather than fixing that issue. That's not impacting the other work that's taking place in a few spots in the 60s, up by John Jay Park and further up, right? There are 3 or 4 other spots.
Yeah, that are part of phase 3.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, the piece between 6-3 and 6-4, that little piece is part of phase 3, where they have to fix the pilings. And then much further up, there's another piece besides the 70s. So,
Yeah.
But I guess they're not going to start on that until apparently they have the funding, but until they get the answers, I guess they'll do the work all at one time. Does anyone have any questions?
We have Boaz and then Barbara Rudder.
Go ahead, Boaz.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions regarding Rupert Park. So Rupert Park we have a lot of people waiting for Rupert Park. So I guess it's a good news that we have spring 26, but we need to make sure that we are on target for spring 26 because there is already money for it and there is a design. So let's talk about the next meeting. So Robert, you mentioned that there is a meeting between an engineer and another department, DEP, right? Something like that?
Yeah.
Okay, this meeting, why is it going to happen in a few weeks and not next week, for example? How can we speed up? Is it something that we can write a resolution for community board that we ask for the meeting next week? And Judy, say no. I want to ask Robert. Can we hear from Robert?
Yeah, well, Sheena and I can only do the impossible at our level. Above me, I can go and I can ask my support, my superiors, but it's up to people above our station, you see.
fully understand. I see Rita Popper is here. Can Rita Popper raise a resolution to officially ask from the park to have this meeting between engineer and the committee? They are all people of the city, and we are advisory, right? The community board 8 are advisory to the city, so we can ask. Rita, you know how many people are waiting for. So the question is, why this meeting happens in a few weeks? Why can't we have this meeting next week? And I'm focusing on this meeting because that's the next step, right? I mean, so let's get this meeting rolling. Rita, what's your feedback on that? Can we do that?
You're asking Rita or Robert?
Rita Popper. I
Rita,
guess
do you
either
have
she's mute or not. So Felice, Judy, I guess you're against it.
Actually, Boaz, we can't push it further than what Parks is doing. We speak to the Parks Department, to Steve Simon. I speak to him every week about this issue. And it's very possible that the meeting, and Robert left himself a lot of wiggle room when he presented it. But I think it's very possible this meeting may be happening next week.
Okay.
But I
unmuted.
Not 100% on that.
Personally, though, I'm very grateful for what everybody is doing. I don't want you to think I'm not, but I'm really tired of hearing whenever we get to the next step that we only need that step, and we have already passed that step. First, we had the flood mitigation. Everything has been done. The money is there. Everything is there.
That's what I'm saying. The money is here. That's it. We have the money. We have the design.
But it's
now
not
it's just people. No, Judy, but now it's just people from the city. I'm willing to host them at my apartment. It's just people from the city. Need to talk with people from the city. I'm willing to buy them lunch. I'm willing. I mean, let's make it happen.
Boaz, this is how the city works, and it's time we have to accept it. You know, are you going to go build the park?
It is what it is.
Park? We're not. We're grateful for everything that the Parks Department does, and I hope and I'm sure that they know how anxious we are because we don't have a park, and we would like to have people, those elderly people in this area, above 86th Street. There are more elderly people than there are below 86th Street. So,
what I'm trying to say, Judy and Felice, the only reason I'm pushing you guys because Rupert Park can be a win for community board. It's not like, okay, we need more money for an elevator for the money is here, the design is here. You guys can finally show a huge win for community board. It's just, you know, help us push. You have the connection, help us push the relevant people. So the park will be ready in spring 2026.
No, and that's not what we said. It won't be ready in 2026. Spring 2026, they will start working on the park. It still has to go through all the different
Judy,
departments.
once they will start working on the park, it will be ready like this. Trust me. It's such a small park. It's such a small park. It will be ready like this in a couple of months. It's not a big deal. The only deal is to start the construction.
But Boaz, you have to realize it has a lot of different departments that have to approve the plans. The plans have to go out for bid. Then the bids come in. Sometimes they're too high. Then they have to be rebid. So when they say spring of 26, that's what they're hoping for. I was not told that that's a definite date. That's what they're working towards. So we have to understand how the Parks Department and every city agency works. So we can't do any more. Robert was great in giving us that information tonight. And I think we have to move on. Let's call on Barbara.
I want to thank Robert also, but I also have to vent. But I just have to say, Boaz, I haven't seen you in a long time, and I've been thinking about you, and I hope your family's okay. I just have to say that. The bubble. We remember when we were fighting to make that a park. It wouldn't solve Amy's problem because it is further east. It's on 5960th Street and York Avenue. But they promised to keep it well. They promised to keep it clean. It is a disgusting looking site. And to say, well, in 2029, they may change it is really not acceptable to the community. I find it, I'm sorry, I'm just venting. I don't even need a comment if you don't want to. But this was really something that got me up. That guy promised that he would take over that spot. It's public land, it's park land. He's making I was going to say a bad word, a load of money on that tennis court. We had many meetings about it when I was co-chair, and I'm very upset that ugly, every time I pass by, I can't believe how disgusting that dome is. And it's 2029 that he's going to fix it. Sorry, I don't have to say.
2029 is when the concession runs
I
out.
understand.
Right,
He can
and I
afford to
think,
do it beforehand. He's making a lot of money on that police.
Barbara, it's in his lease that he has to keep it clean.
I understand. You
And
don't
I
have to comment
think
that. Have to
I think before 2029, this time, the community board is really going to work very hard and maybe try to get part of that park back for us the way we had it before. If you remember, it was half a season that the bubble was up, and the
It
rest
was
of the
half,
season,
and it was less than half. Then it went up to half.
well,
I remember
whatever.
getting a phone call. It was I worked. I believe me, Judy. I remember it very, very, very well. I
So
worked on
I
it
think
very
we'll
hard.
go, give us a couple of years, and I think that's an issue for the board to be taking up again. Who knows if they'll get a new lease in 29? Maybe there's some way the community will be able to convince the Parks Department that it should be a park.
Okay, that was my venting.
Okay, you're entitled. Is there anyone else that has any other comments or questions?
I think Phyllis Wallach has her hand up.
Go ahead, Phyllis.
For Robert or Sheena, can we get an update on the pickleball nets and fencing for Carl Shores? I believe, Sheena, you said you would give us an update this month.
The commissioner hasn't gotten back to us about yet, but it's going to happen. We did get the funding. We are going. It's going to happen. I can't give you a definitive date yet, and we can't really actually start until the weather changes. So probably closer to when the weather is changing, I'll have an update from her. But it's going to happen.
People going out there almost every single day, guys. It's crazy, but there are actually people playing every day in the park.
Well, we want people to use the park.
But it's just like I told them there's a support group for them in Florida.
Sheena, did you
Yes.
share with Robert the bird feeding lady the information I gave you about the fellow from BRC so that he could have them come to whatever meeting rather than along with the PEP officers? Because
So
they're
he was going to investigate, so to speak, right, on the situation. I think he went one time and they weren't able to see her. She's actually coming earlier than we then they probably can go out there and see. That's why I took the initiative to ask our PEP team to do, because our PEP team don't start until 10, but they're going to try to do a special task force, and I'm trying to get some scheduling so that we can be able to focus and see how we can help. She is very, very, very disrespectful. And there is no talking to her. So, you know, we have to kind of address this thing very delicately. We can't.
That's why I thought that the homeless outreach group would be, you know,
She changed times, so it kind of it kind of like threw us off. I'll reach out to him again.
Yeah.
And we have another, we do also have another person that we're trying to work with, but the time schedule is what it is, you know. We had a time between 7, 8-ish, and then it went to 6 o'clock. Right. So, you know, I don't expect people to really come, you know, start that early. We're just beginning to open up our parks at 6. So, you know, we're trying to work our way to this. This is really not an easy thing. Really, it isn't. I wish we had a better answer. I wish I had a better answer. The only thing I'm going to try to do is probably annoy her by when she drops it, I pick it up. She drops it, I'll pick it up. Right. So maybe that, you know, somehow deter her from coming to that area and probably pick somewhere else. Right. I'm gonna try. It's very difficult, but she doesn't want to talk, and she's not gonna listen. She doesn't want to listen, and she changed time on us. So that kind of took it back for us, you know. So I'm working on it. Trust me, I've been working on it.
I know. Well, we appreciate all the work that you and Robert do for us on our parks, and we thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Do we have any other old new business that we want to discuss?
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Okay, so moved. Thank you, Barbara and Rita. Okay, have a nice night. We look forward to seeing you all in March. We're going to have an interesting presentation from Community Board 6. They won our support on a resolution they passed for park space in their area on redoing the FDR Drive and Parkland down in Board 6. So we said we would be happy to hear them make a presentation. And everybody remember to put March 26th on your calendar to come for 24 Sycamores Park. Have a good evening, everybody, and thank you for coming.